Hello everyone, hello, Katie here, and I would like to show some size comparisons of different planners and two caveats, two pieces of information to know before we head into this. This is not an exhaustive list of planner sizes. I do find these are a bit more common and what people are generally talking about. There are some sizes I don't have, but also, I have kind of a collection I've invested in. I'm pointing over here because they're all kind of lined up here. I'm going to be taking them in and out here. And if there are certain comparisons that you would like, I can post photos after this in the community tab or something. But I just thought there was a few people who were kind of wanting to see them next to each other. And I know it's not quite the same because scale on a camera here is kind of hard. I do have bigger hands, longer fingers. Just keep that in mind, because I do find that like size of hands can just throw my perception of scale off when I'm trying to see planners that other people have. I can be quite surprised when I have it in my own hands. So again, it's not going to be perfect in that sense of like, oh, you're going to come away going, okay, I get the size comparisons at all. This is nothing like that. If there are certain sizes that you were kind of curious about, I'm just going to go from like smallest to largest. And maybe at the end kind of show like the core ones next to each other. Also, I use a lot of covers. And so some of them I have fit what they call blank notebooks inside of the covers, or fit things inside of other things. Not too drastic. I mean, there's not too much in here. So yeah, just kind of groundwork there. I am leaving a 16 centimeter ruler here, and the pens that I use most commonly, this is a thinner Pentel Energel Clina. Not the typical one. I find that's a little smaller, and then I use this one all the time, which is just a friction. So I thought, well, maybe if I just kind of keep these off to the side, it might help with a little bit of reference. I don't know. So let's dive in and just kind of, it's going to be a little disorganized because I have no script for this, but it is kind of organized by size. Yeah, so let's dive in. So I do want to kind of group them as in smaller sizes, and kind of show like these are all feel kind of similar size. So I'm just going to kind of be doing some comparisons between the three, sorry. And so this is a pocket. Sorry, this is not a pocket. This is a passport. And I reached over here because this is the pocket. I reached over here to grab, this is also a passport. So passport in rings and passport in notebook size. That's generally what you'll see the difference between is, rings have rings in there. And so they also have to have covers that kind of accommodate some space around them. Now, there are some people who like very minimal space and like this coming up to the edge. But in general, for when the designers, I'm just coming at it more from like, what were the intentions of the designer? Most, like, I'm just thinking my passport. Oh, I realized my passport, Moterm passport is kind of nice to see at the same time here. And it was in my purse. So I do find that this size can fit a pen almost exactly here on the end, but you do see like there is a slight difference there in height. Each manufacturer is going to be a little different. But this top one is a Passport, like traveler notebook style, because it has what these are called jump bands. If you haven't heard of them, it just, instead of rings, you have little elastic guys to attach, or I have often stuck a notebook in the back. This is a compact planner and it fit in the back just fine. These are all Passport size, just like this one, or you can put them, you know, in the bands in there. So I usually use this one like on the go to take some notes and things. So yeah, this one is going to be smaller because there are no rings. And then this one has rings, as you can see here. I got small rings, and then I have, basically I'm just holding my empty, unused Passport, just loose leaf. And so these will fit in here, and I've kind of collected some dividers over the years, and I'm just kind of keeping these in here. Now, I will preface this also. I do a lot of design work, so that's where my collection comes from, but I also knew I was moving overseas, so I did kind of stock up over the last year before moving here, because I knew I wouldn't be able to buy as much once I was here. So this is Passport size, and then if you kind of jump up another one, you get pocket. So I love this little daily notebook from Paper Test. So these were mostly Sterling ink. Okay, this is the pocket, which I found this Paper Test design and Yard and the Leathersmith cover. I actually found this, I don't know if it was Macari, I think so. Anyway, I just wanted to feel this form factor because I had used Passport for so long, and I just found that the design of this layout was just so intriguing that, I don't know, I wanted to try it and see how this is. And so this one, if you see, this particular cover has quite a lot more around, but it was designed for this. And I just wanted to kind of feel, I also collect different covers just to get the feel of them. So this one, especially, I wanted to feel like what this brand was like. I wanted to feel what the Filofax kind of felt like in hand. They all have like different feels, and I've been Moterm, especially the Veg Tan, for a while. So that's kind of like 3 different brands of covers. And this definitely is much thicker and more malleable, and almost like you can bend it to it. But the size comparison between these two, it's pretty much the same width, but there's just more height to it. And so if you need like, if you like it more of a square kind of layout, as in the pages are square, not necessarily. Sometimes the grid pattern for Sterling ink especially can be more square the wider it is, because she plays with her grid widths. Usually the height is pretty standard because she sells washi tape. But then she's done some magic with her grids, I will say that much, because these are both Sterling ink. But if you like more of a vertical kind of a feel, then just having that little extra room on the top, having this feel a little bigger in hand might be like super helpful. And then if you go just a little bit further in size up, this is like an A6 size. This is a Chic Sparrow, much smoother. And I got this a while ago. This is a 2024 because I wanted to see, I definitely am a vertical person, and I wanted to see like would a smaller vertical work for me, because I love mapping out like when my appointment times are. That's just me. and wanted to see, especially like I'm usually in an A5, which is, if you move this way, an A5 is 2 pages that are this this size here, this size here. It's double. It's technically double. Let's see. I'm going to be reaching for things constantly during this whole thing. So, yeah, if you see an A5 here is, I mean, there's binding here, but for the most part, this is an A5 because it's double. And that's how A's and B's are named, is that an A4 size paper is this big, A5 is it in half, A6 is in half again, and they also have A7 and A8. So it starts at A1, right? And that's the biggest like printing piece of paper, and then as you get smaller, they're cutting it down. The A6 is really intriguing to me because, I don't know, I find it more intriguing than a B6. And I will be honest right now, I do not have a B6. I have a B6 Slim, which I'll get here. So A always seems like it's going to be bigger, but this is actually B6 height. And then the width is, this is a B6 Slim, so it's usually the B comes out almost an inch more there. Also, I will be linking to the Sterling Ink size comparison on her website because it's amazing that what she put together there. But I think maybe if you enjoyed this video, you can go there, and also it kind of gives you a little bit more context both ways because it shows measurements there, and I can't measure every single one of these. So if you want to know like what a B6 Slim size is, it will be listed right there. And most of my products are Sterling Ink. Some Paper Test, but Paper Test is pretty much the same measurement wise as Sterling Ink. So to me, those are very interchangeable. But anyway, I find the A6 just really handy because it's small enough, yet you can fit a lot in there. And then I just have like a blank notebook here because I wanted to see how to fit inside of this particular Chic Sparrow. So another brand that I wanted to try and just have one around. So as you can see, most of these that I have, I only have one rings, but these are all kind of categorized in like the small and portable sizes. And I wanted to kind of bring on the larger sizes just so you can kind of see, like this is an A5. This is typically what I like to use, but even like if I hold it up closer to the camera or further down, you can see that unless I have them like right next to each other, it's still really hard to like see the comparison. If I lay them down flat more like this, you can see like here's a B6 Slim. Just kind of imagine the B6 is out there a little bit. Here's Pocket, here's Passport. So you can kind of see how, now these are exactly the same color, so it's really hard to see where that edge is. There you go. Kind of some size comparisons there. I think one of the most important things, a reason, okay, there's two reasons why I pick size. One is portability, right? So can it fit in your purse? I have a smaller purse that I use all the time. And so that's why I went to this Passport like TN size, the one with the jumper bands in there. And this just suits my needs pretty well. Every day though that I'm here, at home and stuff, A5 is what I prefer because I write larger. Like when I write, unless I'm trying to write really small, which sometimes I can, I really do go for the bigger book because my writing is so big. I did try a B6 last year. I don't have it with me. I archived it and it's back in the States. But a B6 that came out to here, I felt crunched on all the pages because I loved having empty space or just more area to write and not have to worry about it. So that's kind of where that comes from. The two things that I kind of, think about for that. So I'm going to leave the A6 out because I also want to show A6 rings because I'm going to try to be putting these back because otherwise I have quite the mess. So A6 rings are quite a bit bigger, and if you see, you'll see kind of over and over that if I take out the A6, this is a couple of years ago, it's the old, it's kind of scratchy. This isn't a linen cover, this is her original kind of cover. If you compare the paper size, you'll see here that there's a little bit more width on any of the loose leaf, sometimes a little bit more height as well. I'm trying to get this pretty flush in this corner to show sometimes there's a tiny maybe millimeter more here, but actually a couple on this side. And that's mostly because if you look at these two size covers, this is much, much bigger. I still have small rings in these. I usually have small ones because I'm putting stuff in the back, whether it's paper. Oh, here we go. That's right. I had some paper taken out. So if you kind of directly look here, keeping it as flush as possible in this corner, you can see there's a little bit up on the top and a little bit out on the side. So I thought at one point before holding these in my hand, I'm like, oh, could you take these and have them as tip-ins or something? And if you put them flush in here, there's still a little bit of binding, it's obviously sticking out. Now, could you cut that down? Yeah, but then you lose your little gold edge. So that's not the intention of loose leaf paper. But I find, again, A6 very intriguing myself because of this kind of, it feels like a mini A5 because it is, but I just like how more square, it feels more like a US letter size, but mini, there's just more width. An A4 size has a little bit more vertical to it, so it feels a little bit more like pocket to me. This it's kind of extreme, but this feels, I think, tell me if you grew up with A4 paper, does this feel more like the pocket size or anything kind of more vertical? Does that feel more natural to you? Because I will say, growing up in the US with 8.5 by 11, this feels more natural, just a little bit more width. Or is it just me? Is it just hey, my handwriting's bigger, I like to write a little bit further across? Who knows? So yeah, that's about, now I have been able to fit an A6 in the back of a lot of the Mo terms. If you get the same size rings, you can fit that notebook in the back. So say you have some, and you can fit a lot more in here actually. You can have bigger rings. These I think are 19 millimeter, and you can go 25, 30 into these and get them really chunky. That's what Mo term allows you to do. But if you ever wanted a little notebook in the back, or to get one of those, these little booklets, I don't have an A6 one, but if you ever wanted to tuck one of these in the back to have like food planners or exercise planner, or just something little that you can like take out maybe at the end of the year, or just need something separate. I find that that works really well. And then you have like all your loose leaf there. So just something to think about. And my little charm here is going right there. Yeah, I'm not going to really talk about like decorating everything, because most people have seen like all of these like done up really, really nice. I have yet to do that. I do plan at some point to kind of go through each size and kind of play with them more, and just experiment more. But we have been moving all year, and I'm just glad that I got these here. That's kind of the biggest part. Was we didn't ship, well, we shipped just a little bit, but all my planner supplies came in suitcases. So this is, yeah, A6 here, and these are the little guys. You can see here kind of the size difference carrying wise. Yeah, this is definitely kind of bigger. And then you get into like a personal size. So this is what I see more commonly as a personal size. It's just nice, lots of stuff in here. Again, I don't have much actual planning stuff in there. I'm going to move the A6 kind of over here. Actually, I'll leave these in a little pile here. Even though, like, see, if I have these down here, they look so much smaller. And then now they look, maybe that's an optical illusion. Anyway, just let you know, like, I'm trying to keep it as close to the bottom here, to the plane of my desk. So personal size definitely has more vertical. And again, I would love to hear if people who are in this personal size, this is one of my inserts, that is coming back soon. I had to take down my store for a little bit because I'm moving the store and everything. So it's coming back. It's coming back. I had to get a business account here so that I can actually switch things over. And so I have to adhere to the rules here in the Netherlands. So what do you like about like having a really long page like this? I'm curious because I have tried to use this style a bit, and it just, I was having a little difficulty because I wanted more room. But I love, you know, I still love the form factor and, you know, playing around with the papers and everything. I don't know. Let me know. I'm just curious. I'm curious what people like. So if you compare, you know, the A6 and the personal here, you'll see definitely you lose some width and then you gain more height here. These are both from, all my loose leaf paper here is from Sterling Ink. So that's kind of the size comparison there. So yeah, there's just something, even when I look at this, maybe because there's a grid on it. I love seeing a grid, right? But I have grid paper here. Where is it? I mean, this, yeah, the grid is always more appealing to me, but I still feel like I can utilize this a little better. Just in terms of like, if I wanted to break this down into maybe 2 different lists, like here, I would feel like I'd have, I mean, you could make 2. There are little dots on, let's see, is it on the A6? I am not seeing it on the A6. If you see at the very top here, there are 2 little dots here for breaking this into thirds, and then 1 here. I don't know if she's doing this anymore. These right here, there's a tiny little dot right there. Yeah, for breaking it down this way. Now I'm not seeing that on the A6 at all. So let me know if you have newer loose leaf. It would be on the grids. It would not be on the lined. So, no, let's see. She did do something here on the line. There are dots there, and there's also little marks if you wanted to divide up the line as well. So I thought she was kind of leaving the loose leaf alone. Just trying to find another example. Let's see. So the A6 does definitely have some little lines on the top, but not the dots. Wait. Okay, I'm only seeing one dot, and it's right here. And I think that's a halfway point. It looks like a halfway point to me. Now, when I flip it over, I'm just trying to see if I'm missing anything. Yeah, I just see the one dot in the middle there. Anyway, just something that some of the loose leaves have. Now I'm kind of curious if that's on the pocket. Let's see. She had... Okay, so this is passport size. Sorry, I always mix up passport and pocket. Passport, although she says pocket here. No, this is pocket. What am I talking about? Did I just say the wrong thing for all of this? I think I did. I'm sorry. I keep calling this passport because I feel like it's about the same. This is all pocket. This is her pocket here because PK does not stand for passport. So, but it's because these are so similar and her pocket notebooks are so different. This is why I got confused. And this is why people can get confused. So pocket rings is much, much, much closer to a passport size when you're looking at loose leaf. Just to let you know. Just to let you know here. Is it the same width? It's not even the same width. There is definitely like a whole lot of brown on the sides there. So just know that if you're buying pocket rings, it's much closer to passport size, and that's why I call this a passport. So I'm sorry. You may have been yelling at me earlier in the comments. Don't worry, I can take it. So back to personal. So yeah, these are her personal ones, and you can fit a lot in here. When you get some really big rings in here, I've seen people very much fill them to the brim like this, and I see the appeal. Like, I came from my first planners were ones from the bookstore, and they were like vertical, and I just needed to track my hours because I was losing track of time. Being ADHD, if you work at a 9 to 5, you come in at 9, leave at 5. But this was transitioning into hourly, where my hours were all over the place. I had different shifts in terms of, I was working for a print, what was it called? So I was first working for like the graphic design part of things, and then I shifted to be at where the printers are and checking all the designs that were coming through. So we had kind of a morning crew and an evening crew because we needed to have coverage up until like 9 p.m. And so since my hours started to vary there, I remember that was one of the first times that I needed a planner that showed the hours. And I think that's where it just cemented in the, verticalness of this. Now, I don't have a like vertical like layout here for personal. I know she just came out, Sterling Ink just came out with loose leaf for both the personal and the A5 for the her entire planner and planner design and everything. And I'm definitely very excited about it. I love the new designs of them. I did not get personal because I just, the size kind of got to me. So stay tuned that I did get a loose leaf planner. That's all I'll say about that. But if you look at personal here, it can be very, very close to the weeks size. So this is kind of a size up. Now the weeks is, let's see if I have, these are just some extra dividers back here. This is not proper. Let's see, how proper is this? That's pretty close. So this doesn't have the rounded edges, but typically it has about the same width. Personal, it may be just very slightly off. I thought, I would say they're pretty much the same. You might be talking like a millimeter, because these are rounded and have the edge on there. Sometimes they're a little shorter, but this is more of like if you were to buy personal, like off of a big box store or something. They're pretty much the same width. And the Weeks has some additional height to it. So this is just a notebook. I typically use these more for like health planner. Like this is my, whoops. Now things are gonna start tipping over here. So if you kind of look at the personal and the Weeks size, you can kind of see like this is definitely wider to accommodate the rings. There's no rings here. But this is accommodating the top a bit more. And of course, you know, it's down in here. These are, again, overlapping so much to protect the pages inside here. Now there is a personal wide of size that I do not have. I used to have one or two, and I let them go. So those pages can come out a little further. Sometimes I've seen people put personal wide in a personal because they want it to come out to the end, and their planner cover accommodates that. It just, you can try things like that, right? I also have, this is FCC, so this is a Franklin Covey, is this size that Sterling Ink also put out. I'm trying to think if she did personal wide as well. You'd have to check the website. I'll link it so you can check. But this does have, so Franklin Covey does some interesting things with their rings. Sometimes they have some double rings in here. Those are kind of more uncommon. But I have seen people put in like this size into their personal because they just want a little extra. But the holes do line up for personal. So if you did want a little extra, I think she's still selling the Franklin Covey ones unless they just weren't popular enough. But they definitely have, you know, an extra little bit. Now, I believe the personal wides come out even a little further. I let go of those because I had to make decisions. I had to like decide which ones I wanted. So I also have personal, this is a Kate Spade that I love these. There's something about this time period that, I don't know, it brings me back. And so, I did kind of put this one together. Oh, that got a little mushed. So this is a personal size. Yeah, I kind of collect these old Kate Spade pages, and this one definitely was banged up in the back, but I just liked collecting it anyway. And I was kind of turning this into like a style notebook, but you can see like you can get different types, you know, to you know, to enjoy for your personal. There's lots of different personal ones out there. And this is just a Moterm Kate Spade, and there's definitely lots of Filofaxes out there. So lots to play with. I also have this one too that I was keeping kind of a perfume. I am really into perfumes, and so I was having like a bunch of perfume samples in here, and then I was going to rate them and stuff, and it's kind of on the back burner right now. But I still love these kind of zip up style. So let me put some away. I will keep the personal one out. The A6 I'm going to put back. I still love, again, this kind of wider style, but I do use a Weeks a lot. So I'm going to leave a Weeks here just for the notebook part and show, actually, I'll put the personals all away. Next, I wanted to get into like the TN. I just want to put enough up here so that they don't all fall down. TN is a really interesting size. Again, this is very much like the little passport guy with bands in it. And I see this as a very, very popular size. And I do find that I have used this one. There's some bands in here. I have a notebook, and then I have like some little booklets in here. And I don't want to show too much because this is a bit more of my personal collection of things. So, excuse me. I have like a notebook that I just am junk journaling, ephemera, just kind of remembering this past year, all the things that we've gone through. But then I also have, this is attached in here. So you can get a little folder in here. It's a really fun form factor. And the TN size is, obviously a little bigger. I actually have one of these. So this is a paper test, undated, vertical, that I don't know what I'm going to use it for because it's more like this size for me is more memory based, but I think it's more going to be for travels and things. You can see the size difference here. You definitely get a whole lot more room on both sides, so definitely a whole lot bigger. And where did I put that? Here we go. The TN is exactly the same size as an A5 vertically. So you will have TN and then let me see if I can grab this one. An A6 Slim is like the next one width-wise. So like the manager's notebook here, I do have a cover on it. It kind of slides in between there size-wise. And so you can kind of see the jump in sizes here. It's a little crooked. It's a little crooked here. Let me see. So you definitely get a bigger jump between the Slim and the TN, but sometimes it's kind of also this cover is kind of doing that too. But you see like it's not quite an inch, maybe 3/4. But this, you can see the jump in size. Now I love this height. I think that's why I went to a TN. Again, I'm totally going against what I said with I don't know how to handle a tall, thin layout. And I'm using like this notebook like this, where it's just grid. I can show you in here. It's just grid in here. I do find it a little easier to tape things in here. I think if I were to be journaling and putting like taping a bunch of stuff in, I don't think I could do an A5 because it would be too heavy to flop these. This is just my personal opinion. Okay. So, because when I flop these pages when they're heavy, it's easier to turn the pages. But with an A5, if I were putting a lot in there, I think it'd be a little too much. I love this little guy. This is my bunny corn. It's my little bunny corn. I don't know. I thought it was cute. So I'm trying to think. Those are kind of like the sizes. Like if you look at this, I find this interesting. An A5 just plain is almost the same size as like a cover for weeks. So if you're kind of like, how long can I have, like this can fit into a purse. That's the other thing that people love about weeks. If you put a cover on it like this though, you're definitely, it's a whole lot taller than just sticking a, weeks in your purse. Like if you compare here, there's definitely a whole lot more with this cover. So, but this is quite a jump. And then again, I don't have B6, so I'll just kind of hold this up. B6 is almost the same height as a weeks. So you will see it's just a tiny bit shorter. A weeks is just a tiny bit taller and the B6 is just a tiny bit shorter. But I did have especially with a B6 Slim, you could probably use these pretty close together, possibly in the same cover if it's like a Moterm that has a lot of room. They're fairly close. Like you could have like a planner in one and then just no pages in the other. But if that kind of size difference does get to you, get the same. Because like as I showed in my A6 here, when I put two notebooks together, I want them to be the same size. Like if I were using them back to back like it just, for me, it would bug me over time to have them slightly off, but for other people, it doesn't bother them. So it's another pairing. Or if you have like a B6 Slim cover, you could probably try it on the weeks and it would fit. And then the B6 Slim, that pretty much looks like the same width as a TN. So as we saw here, an A5 Slim is definitely a whole lot wider. And this is the TN and the B6 Slim. So you can see there's definitely some size differences here. Now I have, this used to be a rings. There used to be rings in here. I don't know what size this was supposed to be. It was like a TN or an A5 Slim rings. It was, I've never seen one again either. So it's almost like TN rings to me, because if you were to fit any kind of, I put an A5 Slim in here and you can only put like a notebook in here, and see how it's like just closing. So this was a special thing I found, and it's all, but it had rings. It just, I was very baffled. I think they were personal rings, but if you even try to put personal in here, it was just really tall. I'd have to find the rings again. I have them with me. I did bring those. They are somewhere. I don't know where, but this was just like one of those one-offs that was just different. So there is no thing with that I know of, unless you kind of just custom make them. TN rings doesn't exist because they usually are just bands. They're usually just in this. And Moterm makes a really big one that you can fit so much stuff in here. So when I fit this notebook in, I've seen these stuffed quite full. Like you can put them on the bands and everything. And I can still it's a little stressed there. Probably use the closer one. There we go. You can fit so much in these. many moterms. You can fit lots of stuff in here. So that's TN. So also with TNs, there's also this style that you can fit less into, and there's some kind of personal information here that I'm trying to cover up, but this is a great size too if you want to kind of actually take it traveling and don't want to take this huge one with you. TNs are such an art form. I've seen ones, you know, with patches, and I mean, the traveler's notebook ecosystem is vast and wide and pretty hot right now. I find it really fascinating because I don't know, I just got into it. I didn't really have a use for TNs at all because I don't plan in them. But once I started, like, when we came here to see if we wanted to move here, when we were traveling a bit more, I was like, oh, now I kind of get, like, it's not like a memory book. I don't keep it all the time, but I needed to reflect upon those days because we were making big decisions. And now I kind of want to get back into these because these are our first few months here. So it's definitely a whole different, you know, it's not like a 2026 planner that I have to get for this size. But I just kind of got it knowing that I was like, why am I getting this? I don't have a planner in this size. I don't like a weekly planner. I don't have a need for this. But then I just kind of trusted something in my gut for that. So then we get to bigger sizes. So please, I hope this B6 Slim helped a little bit to imagine what a B6 would be like. Again, that's the only one I don't have just because I would absolutely have no use for it because the size does irritate me. So maybe if there's a little sale, sometimes I pick up things that if there's just like a B6 that's really heavily discounted because it's last year's planner, I probably look at Paper Test because she's very close to me here in the Netherlands, being in Germany. I used to pick up Sterling ink ones all the time on cheap because that's where I got this. I needed the form factor just to like compare and have that around. So A5, my favorite. I don't have like any other specific like books to show. I have A5 like 5-year journals that I'm using and stuff, but the biggest thing here, please don't fall. Okay, I knew at some point I would be doing some tricky things. So I do have a Filofax A5, and you can see like this thing is chunky. So these are the bigger rings. I believe these are 30 in here. But then I stuffed a bunch of other stuff in here too, just to get everything here. And yeah, April was about the last time I was using a lot of things. So if you take those out, you can see how the 30 rings in there is a lot better. It still has some extra room. Let's see. Can the Filofax? No, the Filofax doesn't have a little spot that the Moterm does to hook your A5 in horizontally this way. You could put something vertically here. But if you had to, you can, stick an A5 in the back. I have done that quite a few times with different kinds of planners that an A5 does fit in the back of rings. And then if you, let's see, do I have any, I was just looking to see if I had a page out. Let's see. I have a whole bunch of different things because I do play around with the A5 size a lot. This one's kind of bent up a little bit, so I was going to use this one. So if you take an A5 leaf and you put it as close as possible, like it's still not all the way down in there, as close as possible to the binding. It's pretty, I mean, it's pretty far in there, but you'll always have that much sticking out. So again, not for tip-ins, but you can kind of see that there is a slight size difference, so that there's more of a finger kind of tab on the end, so that when you're turning pages, especially loose leaf, there's a little bit more pressure being put on the rings and on the edges as opposed to a book. That's just the physics of it all. But yeah, A5 definitely has my heart in both of these sizes, and I do find it like a really fun size. I do. These Sterling ink has 4 little dots on the top, so see if I can point to them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 on the side right there, if you can see it. And it's just a way that you can kind of divide up. It's not really a halfway point, so that's 5 across and 1 here. But yeah, it's a way to kind of divide up the grid if you need them. So I also wanted to compare B5. So I first got just a notebook in a B5, and I got a scratch on there, but I wanted to see, I had never really felt a B5 before, and so I'm like, how much bigger is it than an A5? Like, it is kind of interesting. Again, the A's and the B's really throw things off, I think, for people, and even me talking right now about it. But a lot of people were loving this B5 size. It's a really fun size. Let's see. I also want to compare, this is a half letter. I'm trying to see if there's, well, this is a Poi and Hun, and I used to love this size all the time. So when I went from like Barnes and Noble, you know, planner of the year, whatever they had, I then switched over to discs because I loved being able to move these around. I was heavily into, I didn't do Happy Planner, I actually did Inkwell Press. I loved being able to rearrange all the pages to how I liked to use them. So definitely more of the rings feel, but you aren't, you know, opening and closing the rings all the time. And it's amazing how well, when you get the paper from the people who are making, like, I wouldn't print them at home. It can be a little, you need a little thicker paper for them to stand up to the wear and tear here, but I really did love these. So this is more of a standard kind of like 7x9, is, they would say it in inches. And so, and that's kind of like classic Happy Planner size too. And so that's kind of why I wanted to, I don't know why I'm keeping it in here. Let's take it out here and show like A5, kind of that classic. They call it kind of a classic because it's like Happy Planner classic. And it's really hard to get these flush. So trying to do the best I can there to kind of make a sandwich. So you can kind of see the different sizes there. There's a little bit of an edge here. It's a lot more on top. So I can kind of see where, you know, a classic Happy Planner person could go to a B5 if they wanted something bound. B5 I've never seen loose leaf for or anything, or rings or anything. It's mostly been, again, let me know if I'm wrong about that, because I would love to hear some of those obscure sizes. And then just to show one more big one, Paper Test came out with the teacher planner, and so that one's even bigger here. I'm just going to stack all these kind of on top of each other, paper size wise. Let's see, kind of like that. So B5 is definitely a little taller. There's a little bit more here than her teacher planner, but she does have a cover that is a little bigger. I'm just thinking like this size can almost be like Moxie Life size, although I think Moxie Life might be a little smaller. I'm trying to remember, because this one is definitely a lot heavier, but there's a lot more pages. But I don't have any Moxie Life with me. So this is A5, classic, like Happy Planner size, B5, and then this is the kind of a larger teacher planner. It's similar, but I feel like this is wider because she had to accommodate the tabs here. See how the tabs stick out? So I feel like if this was just a little shorter, it'd be very similar. Less pages than the Moxie Life, which these are the brands I've been exposed to that I've actually personally bought over the years. There's Plum Paper, there's all Hemlock and Oak, which is bound. I don't have any hardbound. I don't have any Hobonichi. I had one Hobonichi Weeks one time, and I couldn't with the color paper in it. So that was the week size that we kind of previously covered. There's so many planners out there. There's ones that you can get customized. There's ones that, and I know I'm just forgetting a whole lot of different ones out there. Then there's a whole bunch of new ones that came into the fold this last couple years. Faded Chronicle, and Twines and Paper, and Just Scribble did one. I'm trying to remember the name of her actual one. Then there was the Journey Planner. Then there's Wonderland 222. I've never, I haven't had a lot of those. I am going to be getting a Faded Chronicle. But those are all very Hobonichi-like. They're very much where people were not liking some of the things of Hobonichi. I'm not going to get into also the paper debacle of the last couple years where there were some bad batches and things. I'm not getting into that. But there's still so many other sizes out there. I'm trying to look at any other sizes I have on hand to show you, and I think that's it. I'm looking at all my piles, and I think, like, I do have one Moxie Life here, but this is A5 size, so it doesn't count. They made it for 2024. It's exactly an A5 size, so that does not help anything. Yeah, I think that's about all I have. I don't have any Moleskine. I don't have any, bullet journals or junk journals or anything like that. So again, this video has its limitations, but if you really wanted to see some of the size comparisons, if I misspoke, I'm sorry, let me know and I can correct it down in the comments. Yeah, let me see if I can do a final stack here where I have the largest one I have, B5, because I don't know what size this is called. It's kind of custom. B5, this is like Happy Planner Classic size. This is the A5. Trying not to duplicate here and trying to have ones without, and then we have like a B6 Slim. We have the Weeks, and then I'm gonna grab, I'm mostly gonna do notebooks here because those are generally what you can show the easiest with. And then you have an A6, and then Pocket, and then Passport, and then just that little goof up I made earlier, like this being a pocket, but it's more the size of a passport. So there is also, I've seen a 7, which is a little tiny notebook. I don't know how anyone uses those, but they're small and you can fit them. They're even smaller than this guy. So I don't know how someone would use it, but people do. People do. I've seen them occasionally. So that's kind of the stack that I have. Let me know what you think. Did this help at all to kind of understand? I don't know if this would help a seasoned journaler. They probably have been exposed to all these and kind of planners who kind of go, okay, I've used all these before. I kind of know what's going on. I don't have like a personal, but personal is very close to this week's in here. So again, I'm not going to put the loose leaf in here, but so for a teacher, this would be really hard to tote around. I'm hoping the teachers are just leaving it in their classroom. I'm hoping. I don't know. This is pretty heavy. A lot of people are loving these big B5 ones. I find these really interesting because they're huge. I mean, they're really big. And yeah, they have, a lot of the notebooks have little dots on them. So yeah, I hope that helped a little bit. What is your favorite size? Like if you were to go back to your comfort that you know for sure, if you could only get one size and you're like, if I had no other choice, I would get the size because I know it already works for me. Not could a size work for me, what size would that be for you? Because I'm really curious. Yeah. What's your favorite size right now? Just right now, in this time of your life, you could have used a big planner like 5 years ago, and now you have kids and you have to go run around and you need a smaller planner now, or just a lot thinner. We haven't talked about like the depth of these because Sterling Ink did come out with many planners that have different thicknesses now and have different layouts, and like I'm not going to go into that. These are just merely sizes, but you can get ones that are thin like booklets, and then thicker like full planners, and then compact size or core size now that Sterling Ink came out with a core size, which doesn't have many extra pages. So what do you like? What is your favorite? If you enjoyed this, I probably won't do too many of these because I think a lot of people are familiar, but I know some people aren't. And that's kind of why I did this. Consider liking this on the way out. Consider subscribing. And on most Sundays, I had to skip a few this summer because of our move, but most Sundays, I have just my co-plan with me, which is like, you just get to hear about my week and kind of see how I'm planning. It's very, very low key. It's kind of only if you kind of want to check in and kind of see what my process is just for setting up my week. But then I try to do other videos like this, which is a little bit more in depth and talking about neurodivergency and chronic illness. So take care, everyone, and I hope you have a good planner season ahead of you, and I hope you get something you really, really enjoyed this year. Take care. Bye.